the baby is executed after birth is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that.
They're killing the baby beyond abortion. Post-birth abortion, folks. It's called execution, but the Democrats call it post-birth abortion. It's like, no, that's called a murder. There's a different word for that. He's still running this line. It ain't going to work, big dog. Look, this whole idea of like hypothetically Democrats want to kill your children only works before you actually take legislative action. Once people take legislative action, everyone is going to hyper-focus on the action and the impact of said legislative action, right? Republicans can always get away with having incredibly cruel policy prescriptions as long as they don't actually act out on them. When we are living in the post-Roe v. Wade abolition or post-Roe v. Wade decision overturning a Roe v. Wade, everybody understands what the fuck's going on. Everybody understands who's responsible for it. Okay, if you live in a red state, if you live in like Texas, for example, and you hear stories about mothers who are who wanted to have a third child, let's say, and they have an ectopic pregnancy, and they cannot, they do not have a viable fetus, and they can't get this life-saving medical procedure. Everybody sees that. Everybody recognizes exactly what's going on there. And nobody cares about like possibly the fact that Democrats want to execute babies or whatever. And when I say everybody, I'm incorporating Republicans into the equation as well. Because while many Republicans before the Roe v. Wade overturning would have possibly fantasized about like how far the Democrats were going, how far the Democratic Party was wanting to go with like forcible abortions for every woman or whatever, now they have to deal with the very likely reality that like their daughters might have to get an abortion, and they can't get an abortion now. Laugh as much as you want. Nobody really cares about women unless they think it will quite literally affect their close ones. No, for sure. That's precisely what I'm saying, as a matter of fact. Republicans did not care about this issue or cared about it in the opposite direction until it became a reality. And now they're recognizing like, oh shit, maybe this wasn't a great idea. And by that, I mean people who historically voted Republican, let's say, white college-educated voters in the suburbs that historically voted for the Republican Party, that never really considered how devastating it may be to shut off access to a medical procedure that is safe. It is a decision that should be left up to the doctor and the patient. Putting the state in between that, all of a sudden made this theoretical reality a very real one that will impact them, their loved ones, possibly in the future or even now. By the way, you basically just described conservative thinking. It's like kind of sad, but it is exactly how conservatives operate. The way they operate is it doesn't matter to me unless it directly impacts me. That's why Dick Cheney was fine with LGBT rights to a certain degree, because his daughter is a lesbian. There are plenty, depending on how stupid they are, that will still demonstrate cognitive dissonance. That's why you have a lot of second-generation Latino voters who vote Republican and advocate for staunch, strict, white nativist immigration policies, not realizing that they are the sons and daughters of undocumented migrants, for example. As long as you can mystify the impact of specific types of legislation, you will still have a lot of Republicans that vote for policies that hurt them. As long as there's a dream, for example, that you can massage into the minds of many Americans. What do I mean by this? Plenty of middle class and below working class Americans that vote for the Republican Party do so with the underlying assumption that they think they are going to make it, that they too will be millionaires one day. That's why they need the tax cuts. They don't realize that those tax cuts are not beneficial for them. Those tax cuts are beneficial for the wealthy, which they will never be. It is one of the most prescient takes of all time from the author of Grapes of Wrath. The idea that socialism will never work in America. I mean, he wrote about the Great Depression extensively, Joseph Steinbeck. The idea that socialism will never work in America because the working class in the United States of America do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about...
This is kind of lame, too, by the way. Just vote. Go out and vote. Folks, please go out and vote. Okay, Democrat. Kind of sounding like Hillary Clinton a little bit, huh? What's happening there? So the reason why he's doing the it's a states' rights issue is because he is trying to at least secure, like win back some of the voters that he lost to the Democratic Party because of the abortion stuff in purple states. Because like red states, they're like they have their own they have their own perspective on the matter. And he's trying to say like to the blue states, you can keep your abortion if you want it. He's trying to desperately massage out of this this devastating predicament for the future prospects of the Republican Party. This is something that I have brought up quite a bit as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, and this is at the heart of the Republican Party's major issue to begin with. It's one that transcends beyond Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a manifestation of it, though. He is a perfect human representation of like this genuine problem, because Republicans have gotten so successful at meeting their agendas and genuinely pushing forward with their ideology that is oftentimes incredibly restrictive, that they are a victim to their own success. Yes, the dog caught the car, if you will. Dog chases the car, but what happens when the dog catches the car? You know what I mean? There is a real problem within the Republican Party, and they are trying to desperately either move away from this issue, never really talk about it at all, or try to, reframe the narrative that like, no, people wanted this actually. Enough people actually wanted this. That's not the case. The overwhelming majority of Americans, as a matter of fact, did not want this. So much so that they fucking despise the Supreme Court because they recognize how undemocratic it is. This is not the will of the people at all. There will be political punishments. Those political punishments have come down already in the, ineffective midterm election that happened for the Republican Party. They still obviously took over the House of Representatives, but even then there's another party within the there's another issue within the House of Representatives, which is another Republican principle, the principle of obstruction, the perma-obstructionist attitude that many factions within the Republican Party are cooking their own agendas in some ways and making them look very stupid and in a state of disarray permanently. That's why you had the speaker drama that occurred. That's why Mike Johnson personally is still experiencing some of those issues as well, given the way that the Republican Party is structured. Hard to win those voters back when their middle-class kids can't even buy Plan B safely over the counter. Yes. Here is also another clapback from Donalde against Lindsey Graham and others in the party. Trump on Truth Social takes a swipe. This is from Jill Coven, the national political reporter for the Associated Press, covering Donald Trump's latest Truth Social post. Says Trump on Truth Social takes a swipe at Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, and others who have been pushing for a national abortion ban. People like Lindsey Graham that are unrelenting are handing the Democrats their dream of the House, Senate, and perhaps even the presidency, he writes. Senator Lindsey Graham is doing a great disservice to the Republican Party and to our country, he wrote, adding, we cannot let our country suffer any further damage by losing elections on an issue that should have always been decided by the states and now will be. That's what's going on here. He is reading the room, recognizing that the room fucking stinks, seeing how bad it looks, and trying to re-triangulate the message. But I don't think it's a salvageable message. I don't think there is a way you can message out of this, because Americans are not very smart, as you all know. Americans are very fucking dumb. And because they're very fucking dumb, there are moments of clarity where they can't be swayed away from their opinion with complex thinking. What I mean is, what you see is what you get. They know that abortion is restricted in red states. They know some of the complications that come from that. They fear that their loved ones might be impacted by it. So it doesn't really matter when you go with this theoretical states' rights approach, because it already happened. If it hadn't happened, then you could, massage the narrative. You can fucking say stuff like, oh yeah, Democrats want to kill your children. Democrats want to come to your house and like abort your baby. Okay. But when something does happen, well, they're focused on the thing that's happening in front of their eyes. We've